Chapter 12, Part 1 of Aeroplanes and Dirigibles of War by Frederick A. Talbot. This Librivox recording is in the public domain. Recording by William Tomcho. Aeroplanes and Dirigibles of War by Frederick A. Talbot. Chapter 12, Battles in the Air, Part 1. Ever since the days of Jules Verne, no theme has proved so popular in fiction as fighting in the air. It was a subject which lent itself to vivid imagination and spirited, picturesque portrayal. Discussion might be provoked, but it inevitably proved abortive, inasmuch as there was a complete absence of data based upon actual experience. The novelist was without any theory. He avowedly depended upon the brilliance of his imagination. The critic could only theorize, and no matter how dogmatic his reasonings, they were certainly as unconvincing as those of the object of his attack. But truth has proved stranger than fiction. The imaginative pictures of the novelist have not only been fulfilled, but surpassed, while the theorizing critic has been utterly confounded. Fighting in the air has become so inseparable from the military operations of today that it occurs with startling frequency. A contest between hostile aeroplanes, hundreds of feet above the earth, is no longer regarded as a dramatic, thrilling spectacle. It has become as matter of fact as a bayonet melee between opposed forces of infantry. A duel in the clouds differs from any other form of encounter. It is fought mercilessly. There can be no question of quarter or surrender. The white flag is no protection, for the simple reason that science and mechanical ingenuity have failed, so far, to devise a means of taking an aeroplane in tow. The victor has no possible method of forcing the vanquished to the ground in his own territory, except driving. If such a move to be made there is the risk that the latter will take advantage of a critical opportunity to effect his escape, or to turn the tables. For these reasons the fight is fought to a conclusive finish. To aspire to success in these combats waged in the trackless blue, speed, initiative, and daring are essential. Success falls to the swift in every instance. An aeroplane traveling at a high speed and pursuing an undulating or irregular trajectory is almost impossible to hit from the ground, as sighting is so extremely difficult. Sighting from another machine, which likewise is traveling rapidly and pursuing an irregular path, is far more so. Unless the attacker can approach relatively closely to his enemy, the possibility of hitting him is extremely remote. Rifle or gunfire must be absolutely point blank. When a marauding aeroplane is espied, the attacking corsair immediately struggles for the strategical position which is above his adversary. To fire upwards from one aeroplane at another is virtually impossible, at least with any degree of accuracy. The marksman is at a hopeless disadvantage. If the pilot be unaccompanied and entirely dependent upon his own resources, he cannot hope to fire vertically above him, for the simple reason that in so doing he must relinquish control of his machine. A rifle cannot possibly be sighted under such conditions, inasmuch as it demands that the rifleman shall lean back so as to obtain control of his weapon and to bring it to bear upon his objective. Even if a long-range Mauser or other automatic pistol of the latest type be employed, two hands are necessary for firing purposes, more particularly as, under such conditions, the machine, if not kept under control, is apt to lurch and pitch disconcertingly. Even a colleague, carried for the express purpose of aggression, is handicapped. If he has a machine gun, such as a Maxim or a mitrailleuse, it is almost out of the question to train it vertically. Its useful vertical training arc is probably limited to about 80 degrees, and at this elevation the gunner has to assume an extremely uncomfortable position, especially upon an aeroplane, where, under the best of circumstances, he is somewhat cramped. On the other hand, the man in the aeroplane above holds the dominating position. He is immediately above his adversary and firing may be carried out with facility. The conditions are wholly in his favor. Sighting and firing downwards, even if absolutely vertically, imposes the minimum physical effort, with the result that the marksman is able to bring a steadier aim upon his adversary. Even if the machine be carrying only the pilot, the latter is able to fire upon his enemy without necessarily releasing control of his motor, even for a moment. If he is a skilled sharpshooter and the exigencies demand, he can level, sight, and fire his weapon with one hand, while under such circumstances an automatic self-loading pistol can be trained upon the objective with the greatest ease. If the warplane be carrying a second person, acting as a gunner, the latter can maintain an effective rifle fusillade, and at the same time manipulate his machine gun with no great effort, maintaining his rifle fire until the pilot, by maneuvering, can enable the mitrailleuse or Maxim to be used to the greatest advantage. Hence the wonderful display of tactical operations when two hostile aeroplanes sight one another. The hunted at first endeavours to learn the turn of speed which his antagonist commands. If the latter is inferior, the pursued can either profit from his advantage and race away to safety, or at once begin to manoeuvre for position. If he is made of stern stuff, he attempts the latter feat without delay. The pursuer, if he realizes that he is outclassed in pace, divines that his quarry will start climbing if he intends to show fight, so he begins to climb also. Now success in this tactical move will accrue to the machine which possesses the finest climbing powers, and here again, of course, speed is certain to count. But, on the other hand, the prowess of the aviator, the human element once more, must not be ignored. The war has demonstrated very convincingly that the personal quality of the aviator often becomes the decisive factor. A spirited contest in the air is one of the grimmest and most thrilling spectacles possible to conceive, and it displays the skill of the aviator in a striking manner. Daring sweeps, startling wheels, breathless volplanes, and remarkable climbs are carried out. One wonders how the machine can possibly withstand the racking strains to which it is subjected. The average aeroplane demands space in which to describe a turn, and the wheel has to be manipulated carefully and dexterously, an operation requiring considerable judgment on the part of the helmsman. But in an aerial duel discretion is flung to the winds. The pilot jams his helm over in his keen struggle to gain the superior position, causing the machine to groan and almost to heel over. The stem stresses of war have served to reveal the perfection of the modern aeroplane, together with the remarkable strength of its construction. In one or two instances, when a victor has come to earth, subsequent examination has revealed the enormous strains to which the aeroplane has been subjected. The machine has been distorted, wires have been broken, wires which have succumbed to the enormous stresses which have been imposed and have not been snapped by rifle fire. One well-known British airman, who was formerly a daring automobilist, confided to me that a fight in the air is the finest reliability trial for an aeroplane that was ever devised. In these desperate struggles for aerial supremacy, the one party endeavours to bring his opponent well within the point-blank range of his armament. The other, on his part, strives just as valiantly to keep well out of reach. The latter knows fully well that his opponent is at a serious disadvantage when beyond point-blank range, for the simple reason that in sighting the rifle or automatic pistol it is difficult, if not impossible while aloft, to judge distances accurately, and to make the correct allowances for windage. If, however, the dominating aviator is armed with a machine gun he occupies the superior position, because he can pour a steady hail of lead upon his enemy. The employment of such a weapon when the contest is being waged over friendly territory has many drawbacks. Damage is likely to be inflicted upon innocent observers on the earth below. The airman is likely to bombard his friends. For this very reason promiscuous firing, in the hope of a lucky shot finding a billet in the hostile machine, is not practised. Both parties appear to reserve their fire until they have drawn within what may be described as fighting distance, otherwise point-blank range, which may be anything up to 300 yards. Some of the battles between the German and the French or British aeroplanes have been waged with a total disregard of the consequences. Both realize that one or the other must perish, and each is equally determined to triumph. It is doubtful whether the animosity between the opposing forces is manifested anywhere so acutely as in the air. In some instances the combat has commenced at 300 feet or so above the earth, and has been fought so desperately, the machines climbing and endeavouring to outmanoeuvre each other, that an altitude of over 5,000 feet has been attained before they have come to close grips. The French aviator is nimble and impetuous. The German aviator is daring, but slow in thought. The British airman is a master of strategy, quick in thought, and prepared to risk anything to achieve his end. The German airman is sent aloft to reconnoitre the enemy and to communicate his information to his headquarters. That is his assigned duty, and he performs it mechanically, declining to fight, as the welfare of his colleagues below is considered to be of more vital importance than his personal superiority in an aerial contest. But if he is cornered, he fights with a terrible and fatalistic desperation. The bravery of the German airman is appreciated by the Allies. The French flying man, with his traditional love for individual combat, seeks and keenly enjoys a duel. The British airman regards such a contest as a mere incident in the round of duty, but willingly accepts the challenge when it is offered. It is this manifestation of what may be described as acquiescence in any development that enabled the British Flying Corps, although numerically inferior, to gain its mastery of the air so unostentatiously and yet so completely. End of Chapter 12, Part 1. Recording by William Tomcho.